How we doing? What's good? I am Andy Malfrina. This is Drag the Lake. So normally when we do these, I've said it before. Normally when we do these, we do a full album reaction stream. I do think that is the most honest form of getting my purest feelings on an album. You know, opinions on an album are ever developing, and you know, I think the best, most purest way to kind of put your feelings on wax is, how the fuck did you feel about that the moment it happened? Well, that's not possible because I've listened to this album a couple of times. Someone on Twitter hit me up. They were like, "Yo, Andy, what do you think about this album?" I go, "I haven't heard it yet, but I got a lot of driving to do. I did a bunch of shows in upstate New York this weekend. If you came out to those, thank you so much. I love you. If not, you are dead to me." But yeah, I was doing a bunch of driving, so I had a lot. I was, switching between audiobooks, podcasts, and, cranking some fucking tunes. And some of the tunes I was cranking was this new album by Sincere Engineer called, where is it? Called Cheap Grills. So this is a new album by Sincere Engineer. It came out the other day. Yeah, literally. Okay, it's been out for about 3 days now, and yeah, like I said, this was not on my radar, but like I said, a listener hit me up on Twitter, which is at Andy Malafrina. Link for it should be down below. If you guys ever have some music suggestions, some review suggestions that you want me to check out, please do not hesitate to hit me up, because I'm always trying to pump out content that you guys want to see. And if you tell me what you want to see, it's the best way for me to figure out what you want to see. So tweet at me, comment below. I will say this, tweet at me, because sometimes I see the YouTube comments and I forget about them occasionally. I've had people comment down there and I've forgotten about them, and I apologize to those beautiful, beautiful people. I love you all so goddamn much. But yeah, so I was not planning on checking out this album, but I was glad it was made. I was glad it got on my radar, because I do fuck with these. I do fuck with these guys. I've checked them out before. Actually, I should technically say I do fuck with this lady, because I thought it was a whole band, but I believe it's what's her name? Diana Belos. I was reading her bio here on Spotify. I guess she writes all the music and hires a band, which actually makes it substantially more impressive. But either way, they have been on my radar before. I believe it was and I know with a lot of musicians, it's not cool to big up Spotify, but Spotify suggested their one song, Trust Me, which from the looks of it is their sort of, if you want to say they have a hit, if they were to have a hit, it looks like it would be Trust Me. And I got that on my radar, and had like it had a really unique feel to it. It had that sort of modern, like whatever's going on now, it's not pop punk, but it's very clearly pop punk derivative. You know what I mean? It crosses off a lot of similar boxes because to me, and this just might be my age, I'm fucking 33, like pop punk is fucking Sum 41, it's Blink-182, it's palm muted choruses and it's palm muted verses, big choruses, a sort of a bridge with a lot of reverb on it. Like, that's pop punk to me. What they're kind of doing now, it's in the realm of it, it's in the same department, but it's not exactly pop punk. But either way, I still enjoy it. I have a fun time. They kind of like change it up. They make it a little bit more expansive, because pop punk when I grew up was a lot more linear and straightforward. It didn't have it had very the edges were very sanded down. Now a lot of this, like pop punk or pop punk adjacent or pop punk derivative, whatever the fuck you want to call it, a lot of this shit it's a lot more free form. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like pop punk in my day had more, you could almost compare it to how, who the fuck, like Andy Warhol. I literally have his book right there, and I'm acting like I can't remember his fucking name. But no, it's like someone like Andy Warhol. I feel like his pictures were very straight, although they invoked emotion and a lot of conversation and a lot of thought and stuff. They're very straightforward, and they were very like almost linear in a philosophical way. But then I feel like the more pop punk now is drifting towards, not so far as to like Ansel Adams, and don't ask me for another artist because my art references are limited, but it's almost drifting towards more of an Ansel Adams, where it is more open-ended, and it does, the edges aren't as smoothly sanded down. It is a little bit, it can abstract's not the right word, but it's just more open-ended. I guess that's a better way to put it. And I think a band like Sincere Engineer, while it's not overtly on the surface this way, I notice it just through years of listening to music. It's got a much more open-ended sound. I feel like it kind of moves between verse and chorus a little bit more fluidly, not as rigidly. And I'm enjoying the places where this genre is shifting to now, and I think it's becoming a lot more expansive. Actually, going back to Blink-182, I do want to say this: it is impressive. You know, I mentioned before where it's very apparent Sincere Engineer's lead singer is a female. It is impressive that the Tom DeLonge voice has made its way over to women as well. Now, it's not as egregious as, like, if you're talking someone like what the fuck's his name? That, like, pop star who kind of does the emo shit with MGK, Youngblood. Like, Youngblood is the most egregious form of it there is. Like, and you can hear it. I'm poking fun. I think Sincere Engineer has a top-notch singing voice. That's the funny part, is it's like a top-notch singing voice with a lot of range, but also throws in, like, Tom DeLonge has made, don't no one make that into a gif. That was sus. Anyway, but, like, Tom DeLonge with the whole, just by going voice inside my head, and where are you? You know, shit like that. He just basically signaled to all these kids, like, you have to make your voice round as fuck. You know what I mean? I feel like to sing properly, you gotta be like in the African tribe where you put a fucking plate in your lip. Like, that's how open your fucking jaw has to be to sing like Tom DeLonge. And it's getting into every fucking singer now. And I say that to poke fun, but it is interesting to see that even in Sincere Engineer's lead singer, you can sort of hear the voice inside my head influence. Now, all that being said, like I said before, she's very talented. She has a lot of range, probably more range than your average pop punk band. And I you know what, as I keep saying pop punk, I guarantee you if the band were to watch this, they'll be like, well, actually, we kind of go a little bit so I don't know what the terms are now. This is what I have. Anyway, yes, while the Tom DeLonge influence is apparent on Sincere Engineer, there is still a lot of range that you don't normally get in a lot of pop punk bands, which I find impressive and I enjoy. Now, I will say this, musically speaking, I enjoyed this, but so how do I say this? I really like the album, but there's this part of it that I'm listening and I just hear the songwriting, and it's like you can hear that they're young. Like, it's this thing that I listen to this album and I go, it's not that it's bad. It's just, I can almost hear it. In about 2 albums, they're going to write one of the best albums ever. They're going to write an amazing fucking album. It's just, these kids are young. They're still learning their instruments and doing all this shit. Not to be, I hope this doesn't come off the wrong way if you're watching Sincere Engineer, because I know a lot of bands end up watching these and stuff. If someone did videos about revealing my shit, I'd watch it. I don't blame you or anything. No, I'm just saying, if you're watching this, keep at it. Keep fucking grinding on those instruments. Get as good at those instruments as humanly possible, because it's like there's this level of creativity that almost feels like it's hitting up against a wall of just ability. You know what I mean? So that with learning the instrument a little bit more, learning, kind of going deeper into songwriting. Like, one thing, lyrically I enjoyed it, but also at the same time, I thought it could have been, and this is easier said than done, and it's kind of a tricky process to do. I would not be a fan of it. Anytime I was in bands, I was never comfortable with actually writing song lyrics, but I would enjoy, there is almost like a tongue-in-cheek vibe to this album that I would almost go like, yo, go lock yourself into a room, listen to the Saddest Wonder Years album, and just be fucking vulnerable as shit on the next one. Because it's like, I hear, not to sound like an old fucking man, but it's like, you hear all this like potential. Like, the album's good, but you can just hear where it's gonna go. So just keep at it. Just keep getting better at the instruments. Just keep getting more creative in writing and stuff like that. And like, this album's great. This album's fucking wonderful. I enjoyed listening to it a lot, but I'm more excited for about 2 albums down from this one. Because in 2 albums, Sincere Engineer might change the fucking game. Right now, they're just pumping out some good fucking tunes, but give them a little bit and they're gonna fuck shit up. You know what I mean? Like, people are gonna in about an album or two, people are gonna talk about, like, they're gonna write that album that when we go back and we talk, like, in 20 years and we talk about Sincere Engineer, in an album or two, they're gonna write that album that they're gonna be like, that's the Sincere Engineer album. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to think, like, when you're talking about who wrote Through Being Cool? I don't know. It's actually it's hard to who wrote that album? Not something cool. Saves the Day. Like, when you talk about Saves the Day, the Saves the Day album is Through Being Cool. You know? And there's a bunch of bands like that. Like, when we talk about Weezer or shit like that, for a lot of people that's the Blue Album. You know, if you go like, what's the Weezer album? It's the Blue Album. Now, Green Day's a little bit of a different situation, but for a lot of people, you go, actually, that's really generational. If it's young kids, you go, what's the Green Day album? They say American Idiot. And if you say people my age, you go, what? Well, for me personally, it's Nimrod. But for most people, if you go, what's the Green Day album? They go, Dookie. You know, so I think in about an album or two, Sincere Engineer is going to be right. From my perspective, there's probably hardcore fans that's like, sucker fucking dicks, dude. They already wrote that album. But I'm just saying, from my perspective, for me, they're going to be in about a year or two, in about an album or two, they're going to be writing that album. All that being said, I had a real good time with this album. I don't want to undersell how good this album was. It was very good. It was very enjoyable. I think if you haven't checked it out already, you're really going to want to check out, what was the name of it again? Cheap Grills by Sincere Engineer. All right, I hope you enjoyed my review. I hope you come back for another one. Watch a stream, hang out with us, do the damn thing. Yeah, I love y'all. Be about it. Peace.